So now we get into the third-party characters, which the first thing that you guys will notice is that I didn't cut any third-party characters. All the third-party characters from Smash Ultimate I've brought back. I think most people think it's impossible for all third-party characters to be brought back, and a lot of people will mention that negotiations for certain characters were very difficult. Sora was very difficult to negotiate. Minecraft Steve took years to negotiate until he finally got into the Fighters Pass 2 for Ultimate, and many believe it's going to be difficult for Sakurai and Nintendo to get certain characters to appear again. Here's how I see it. Well, of course it was difficult to get a lot of the third-party characters to appear in Ultimate. For most of these characters, this was the first time they appeared in Smash, and I'm sure many companies were hesitant to have their IPs handled by somebody else other than themselves. But now that they've appeared, what exactly? I really don't see what's would hold these companies back from allowing their characters to appear in the most successful fighting franchise ever. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate is the best-selling fighting game of all time. For example, why would Square Enix pass up on the opportunity to have Cloud and Sephiroth and the Dragon Quest hero appear in Smash Bros. Again? They know it's going to sell well. Their characters have already appeared. They know that Nintendo is going to handle their characters well. What's going to hold Disney back from Sora being included? He was already represented very well, and Tetsuya Nomura himself was very happy with how Sora was handled. What's going to stop Microsoft from Minecraft Steve from being included again, or Capcom from Mega Man or Ryu being included again? Well, this goes on and on and on. I don't think they'll be hesitant at all for their characters to appear in the most successful fighting franchise of all time. They know the next Smash Bros. Is gonna sell very, very well. So I think ultimately it's in Sakurai and Nintendo's hands regarding third-party characters. I know a lot of people will bring up that Cloud was reportedly... There are a lot of rumors out there saying that Cloud nearly didn't get into Smash Ultimate, that Square Enix nearly didn't allow it. Those are just rumors. Nothing's been confirmed. There's been no interviews, no official statements from Nintendo or Sakurai or Square Enix about Cloud nearly not getting into Smash Bros. At this point, that's a rumor. Take that with a grain of salt. That could be true. Now, do I think it's realistic for all the third-party characters to come back? Probably not. It really depends on how Sakurai goes about the next game. If he indeed decides to go the route of having to shrink the roster, then I don't see all the third-party characters to come back. If they go this route of the bigger the better, then I don't see any of the third-party characters being cut. I think they're all among the most iconic video game characters of all time. Now, for the base roster, I've only added 4 third-party characters. I've added 3 fully fledged newcomers and 1 Echo Fighter. So I'll start obviously with Shadow being an Echo of Sonic. I was shocked that Shadow didn't make it into Ultimate. I thought for sure that he was going to be an Echo of Sonic, but that ultimately didn't happen. I think Shadow is very easy to implement. He would just need to have a different running animation and maybe a couple different special moves to make Shadow feel more like Shadow. But going for the fully fledged newcomers, I think the Sonic franchise is due for a second fully fledged newcomer. I know a lot of people bring up Dr. Eggman as a second playable Sonic character. Me personally, I think the side characters are going to take more priority over villains, at least within Sonic. I think Tails is a more recognizable character. Obviously, Eggman's also very recognizable, but I think Tails is a bit more feasible as a playable character and would be easier to implement. Dr. Eggman, he'd take a little more time to develop, working around his machines and whatnot. Tails is a very popular Sonic character, very highly requested, and like I said, I think the Sonic franchise is due for a second fully fledged newcomer. Rayman from the Rayman series, he'd be the first Ubisoft rep ever. I thought for sure he was the next third-party character in line after SSB6 was done being developed. I thought with the next Smash Bros. After that Rayman was a shoo-in. Obviously that didn't happen, but Rayman has had a strong presence on Nintendo with Rayman Origins and Rayman Legends. Obviously, you have the Mario and Rabbids Kingdom Battle crossover. I'm just surprised he hasn't appeared in Smash Brothers yet. I think he's due to make an appearance, so. And then the last character I added was Crash Bandicoot. Crash is a character who has been highly requested in recent years, was the mascot for PlayStation during the PlayStation era before he went multi-platform. He's had a very strong comeback in the last 5-6 years with the Crash Insane trilogy that was originally a PS4 exclusive but later came to Nintendo Switch. He's been very popular, one of the most requested third-party characters during Ultimate speculation period. I think the only reason he didn't make it in was because it seemed that with the Ultimate newcomers that they were going off of the Smash ballot, and I think Pizza Dude Man laid it out pretty well in one of his more recent videos that Crash really wasn't being requested during the Smash ballot back in 2015, 2016. Crash was seen as kind of a dead franchise at the time before Crash Insane trilogy came out in 2017, and since then he's had a big comeback with Crash 4, the Crash Team Racing remake. There was another game, it was like a Crash Battle Royale game, I don't remember what it's called. It was announced at the Game Awards. But he's definitely had a big comeback, and I think he is a very good character to include. So going over some characters that I considered but ultimately didn't include: Samurai Goro from F-Zero and Crystal from Star Fox. There are characters I've included in past rosters during the SSB4 days. I even included Samurai Goro in my SSB5 rosters back in like 2016, 2017. And ultimately the reason I don't include them now, they're not relevant. Crystal hasn't appeared in a new Star Fox game since Star Fox Command. And obviously with Samurai Goro, there's been no new F-Zero games since F-Zero Climax on the Game Boy Advance in 2004. So I don't think either character is really popular or iconic enough to warrant their inclusion. Just because a character hasn't appeared in a long time doesn't mean they can't be in the game. Obviously in the case of King K. Rool, when he was added in Ultimate, he hadn't appeared in a Donkey Kong Country game in well over a decade, but he was so iconic and so popular that they just had to include him. King K. Rool is one of Nintendo's biggest villains, but in the case of Goro and Crystal, I don't think either of them are popular or iconic enough to warrant their inclusion. Wonder Red from the Wonderful 101, he was a character I included in my SSB5 rosters back in 2017, 2018. At this point, it's kind of a gray area as to whether he's a Nintendo character or a third-party character. The Wonderful 101 was originally on the Wii U as an exclusive. It was published by Nintendo, and the IP was definitely owned by Nintendo. But a couple years ago, Platinum Games published a remastered version on both the Nintendo Switch and PS4. Someone did ask somebody from Platinum Games of whether Wonderful 101 was Nintendo-owned IP or if Platinum Games owned the IP. The rep said that they couldn't comment on it, so it's kind of a gray area. If he is third-party, I don't think he's popular or iconic enough to warrant his inclusion. If he's a Nintendo character, I don't feel like he's really relevant at this point unless a sequel comes out. And we have Elma from Xenoblade Chronicles X. Obviously a very popular Xenoblade character, but is not relevant. I don't feel like she's really popular or iconic enough to be included. I think the perfect time to include Elma would have been Ultimate, but unfortunately I think she just missed the boat, and right now other characters take priority. Going over DLC, obviously my roster is just the base roster without any DLC in mind, but I did want to go over some DLC candidates, characters I could see and I would like to see be added as DLC. The first one being Geno from Super Mario RPG. Very popular character, very highly requested since the Brawl days. He's been included as a Mii costume twice. Sakurai himself has wanted to add Geno since Brawl, but Geno's just, I guess, has never taken priority. I think now that they have pretty much all their bases covered with all the Mario characters, with a lot of the third-party characters, and I think Geno would be a great character to add as DLC. He's a very cool character, has a lot of moveset potential, and Super Mario RPG is just a fantastic game that I would love to see be represented. Waluigi has definitely become a meme at this point as he keeps missing out on his appearing in Smash Brothers. Obviously one of the most well-known Mario characters, consistently playable in all the Mario sports games, all the Mario Kart games and all the spin-offs, all the Mario Party games. He's obviously very highly requested. I think he's probably the most wanted, arguably the most wanted Mario character. He's definitely up there with Captain Toad and Paper Mario. He didn't quite make it onto my roster, but if I had room for one more Mario character, it would definitely go to Waluigi, and I think he would be a great DLC pick. Isaac from Golden Sun, he's a character that is also very highly requested, a huge icon of the Game Boy Advance era. He's been included as a Mii costume in both SSB4 and Ultimate. He's appeared as an assist trophy in Brawl and Ultimate. Obviously, I didn't have room for him on my roster, but he would be a great DLC pick. The Doomslayer or Doom Guy from Doom, very highly requested character. Doom has a lot of history with Nintendo, including some recent releases on the Nintendo Switch, including Doom Eternal and Doom 2016. And he was recently included as a Mii costume in Ultimate, so I think Doomslayer has a good chance of getting in. I think with Doomslayer, it would definitely be as DLC. I don't see him getting in on the launch roster. Bomberman, another highly requested third-party character. He's been included as a Mii costume. He was an assist trophy in Ultimate. Bomberman has a long history with Nintendo. Throughout Nintendo's history, whether it be the NES, the Game Boy, even a couple games on the Nintendo Switch. And I think if we were to have another Konami character, I think Bomberman's a good one to add. He's definitely a character I could see them adding at launch. Lloyd Irving from Tales of Symphonia, easily one of the biggest icons in the Tales of series. I'm not sure if I would call him the most iconic Tales character. He's definitely up there with Yuri Lowell from Tales of Vesperia. A lot of people debate of whether they should go with Lloyd or Yuri. Obviously, Lloyd has closer ties with Nintendo. Tales of Symphonia was initially a GameCube exclusive. Tales of Symphonia 2 was on the Wii, and then the original Tales of Symphonia, I'm not sure if it's out yet, but is getting a remastered port on the Nintendo Switch, and he was also a Mii fighter in Ultimate. Dante from Devil May Cry. He's a character who in recent years has been highly requested. He was included as a Mii costume. Devil May Cry games recently were ported to the Nintendo Switch, so I think he definitely has a good chance of getting in. Shovel Knight, obviously a very popular and iconic indie character. He was included as an assist trophy in Ultimate. He's probably the most wanted indie character. I think if there's any indie character to add, it's Shovel Knight. Shantae is also a good choice as well. I just don't think she's quite as popular as Shovel Knight. And the last one I'm gonna go over, Master Chief from Halo. So the funny thing about this, so when it comes to third-party characters, there's really only two rules that Sakurai himself has stated. That one, the character needs to have originated from a video game, and two, that the character has had to have appeared in at least one game on a Nintendo console. Those two rules have never been broken. I know a lot of people will say that rule number 2 has been broken with Cloud and Joker. Let me quash that. Cloud did have playable appearances on Nintendo consoles before he was added as DLC in SSB4. He was a summon in Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories on the Game Boy Advance. He was in Kingdom Hearts Recoded on the DS. He was in Final Fantasy Explorers on the 3DS. So he had some Nintendo appearances. They weren't huge Nintendo appearances, but that did make him technically eligible. Kind of the same deal with Joker. A lot of people don't know this, but Joker did appear in a Persona game on the 3DS about 6 months before Ultimate came out. So Joker also got in on a technicality. But you may be thinking now that I've explained this, but Master Chief's an Xbox character. Well, funny thing about that, Master Chief actually did appear as a playable skin in Fortnite on all versions of Fortnite, including the Nintendo Switch version. So Master Chief is technically eligible to appear in Smash Brothers now. It's crazy to think that a decade ago, if anybody brought up Master Chief, you would have been immediately laughed at. Like, nobody thought Master Chief as a viable candidate for Smash Brothers, but now, a decade later, I see Master Chief being brought up all the time. So it'd definitely be very interesting if Master Chief got in. Microsoft isn't quite as stingy as Sony is with their IPs. I actually think Master Chief is possible. I don't think he would get in at launch, but I think he definitely would be a DLC character if they did add him. That's really really all I have to say. Again, here's the full Smash 6 roster, 100 characters, 82 veterans, 18 newcomers. Let me know what you guys think. I don't plan on making a big comeback. I'm kind of doing this for fun. Obviously, Smash 6 is at least a few years away, so things will probably be a lot different once the game is actually announced, if they do end up making another Smash Brothers. Because as we all know, those of you who remember the SSB4 speculation days, the characters that we were speculating back in 2010, only a couple of them actually made it into the final game in 2014. Just things changed so much, so it'll be interesting to see what happens with Nintendo over the next several years, who actually does end up making it into the game. That's all I have to say. This is KHI Master, signing off.